showtime.
It's showtime. And here we go.
Welcome into another episode of the Movie Geek Podcast. I'm your host, George T., and this is my review of Happy Gilmore 2 and Naked Gun. So, these were two movies that I was unsure about. Yes, the excitement for Happy Gilmore 2 because Happy Gilmore was so iconic, but it also made me think at the beginning of the year, is it really a necessary sequel? Or subsequently, when the Naked Gun got a release date for this year, I said, boy, do we need more reboots. You know me, I will be hypocritical at times because there are certain fandoms and genres that I, don't mind seeing more sequels of, or, a reboot here or there. Okay. But overall, though, the amount of nostalgia reboots or nostalgia sequels does become quite an issue. And so I was ready to downplay both of them. And because, again, were they necessary? Probably not. But I will say that I saw one first and then the other. So we'll go with what I saw first, which was Happy Gilmore 2. So be sure to subscribe if you haven't done so. Like, comment, share, whatever you need to do to help out this channel. All right, here we go. So Happy Gilmore 2. Okay. Came on Netflix, and so I said, well, good, it's free. Let's see how it goes. And I was disappointed in it because the storyline was pretty bad. I'll get into all of it really quickly here. So if you did like the movie, that's great. And if you're like me, who thought it was funny but didn't like it, that's okay too. Because again, we all have our different likes and hatred for movies. That's why people review them. That's why you watch us. I know there's plenty of people out there, and I'm grateful you watch this channel. So let me get into it. So we start with, Happy Gilmore. We get a retrospective of where he's been, going with his life. He married Virginia, and he's getting older now. He's got kids, and he winds up killing her with a golf ball, and that's how he became an alcoholic. All right, I got several things right away, which I'm like, boy, I don't like where this started. So, again, funny little intro, but then the storyline about him killing Virginia, I'm like, okay, we're just rehashing, he killed his dad with, a hockey puck. And then, the subsequently drinking. So this is an ongoing thing throughout this movie that makes this feel a lot different than the original. So my feel was, okay, we get it, he's upset about, killing his wife. But the ongoing drinking throughout the film just kind of, is like a turnoff, because what made Happy Gilmore so funny and such a surreal comedy was he is the classic underdog, and or the everyday golfer like myself who just happen to get lucky enough to, you know, be able to hit a golf ball so far and winds up, winning a tournament to become a pro. I mean, the ultimate underdog because, again, when he first gets on the tour, he finishes dead last, and then he all of a sudden becomes a championship golfer. So right away, we've got a redemption story where he's, an alcoholic, but, to become Happy Gilmore again, which he's brought into doing by a guy with a rival golf federation. Okay, let me get to this guy first, because I got to tell you, like the whole premise of this um, rival golf thing, it is if you took Live Golf, which obviously PGA and Live have, been at odds, and now they're kind of trying to come together and so on. Everybody was like, "Oh, Live does this and Live does that." Okay, and Live was all about the money. Okay, granted. So you had like making fun of Live, and then the extreme sports, which I kind of felt interesting because, or the Top Golf, or even the TGL, for that matter, and which I found funny because Rory and Tiger um, founded that league. So Rory being in the film probably threw some stuff in there, probably. So I kind of found that funny. Um, but so you've got this crazy new thing, and they want Happy to be their spokesman and come out of retirement to, help, you know, out his family because they're out of money and so on. And then this starts the whole trend of the cameos. Like in total, counting all the members of his family, all the members of Ben Stiller's family, etc. 74 cameos. I mean, just absurd. Uh, I'll get to the I'll get to the cemetery scene afterwards, but again, the throwbacks to the original were not necessary. We didn't need to know what the original Happy Gilmore was because most of us all, or for the most part, all of us loved the original. We didn't need to keep getting thrown back into, flashbacks or, hey, this guy is in this movie to tie in that whole thing. I mean, there's a cameo, or, Chubbs' kid now is running a mini golf course. Um, the jackass guy, his son, played by Eminem, um, is in the crowd in the last event. I mean, it was too much to continually bring up the original to prop this movie up. And I don't know if that was the way, he was trying to, go, but that's just the way I felt. That it was basically, hey, we're gonna do all this stuff. We're gonna try to get that nostalgia back from that original one. But it's just not working. So the guy who's running the league, played by Benny Safdie, is not very convincing as a menacing owner and a badass. It doesn't work. It really just does not work. Um, Again, what made Happy Gilmore such an iconic film was not only the underdog story, but there were just memorable quotes. Like if you play golf, you know that some of this stuff is memorable and you take it to the golf course and you just kind of find it funny. I will say in this movie there's I don't remember a line where I could go to the golf course and be like, say this line and somebody would remember it. So there is that. And then you had, um, him saying no, and then, um, you know, because he was taken for tour, you know, he wanted to get money to send his daughter to dance school, but he got a job instead, and he gets fired from that job. Um, so he's thinking, oh, I really do need money, but how do I do this? And you know, he gets invited back to the Masters um, because obviously champions and whatnot get invited back, and he's got you know he's got to get ready, and there's a whole scene with him trying to um, get ready on the golf course. He's drunk and he's in disguise, so to speak, because the three golfers that he's with do not know who he is until he takes his hat off. And they're like, oh, Happy Gilmore sucks, and so on. And yeah, it's just crazy dumb. Meanwhile, we have Shooter McGavin in a mental hospital for all the years of anguish and bitterness toward Happy. Um, Again, what kind of subplot is this? Like, uh, I'll move on. Haley Joel Osment is this professional golfer for um, Benny's league. So Haley Joel Osment plays Billy Jenkins in this film. Benny plays Frank. So Billy is having a resurgence on the tour, but he's going to jump to Frank's because he can be a bigger star. So he Frank runs into Shooter and asks him to become the spokesperson for his league as well. He takes a tour of the facility and he sees an X-ray of supposedly Happy's um, hip area. So he, I can't remember for the life of me what it was, but the object of this new league is more power and being able to outdrive anyone and just play golf because of plyometrics. So Billy had all these guys, including Billy, have had surgery to have Happy's hip thing. Again, what are we doing? What are we doing? It's not genuine anymore. It's just a comedy that's kind of felt like it was thrown together because Adam has a deal with Netflix and he needs to make a movie. So I'm not going to bore you with the rest of this, but obviously, clearly, Happy and Billy get to square off. And before that, the PGA sends out 5 of their top professionals after um, one of their signature tournaments. Originally, Billy was not. Billy was the top 5, and Adam, Happy, was in 6th. But Billy jumped sides to go to Frank's golf league, so Happy was in there. So you had Scotty Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, Bryson DeChambeau, and um, Brooks Koepka and Happy Gilmore. And again, it's kind of funny because you've got two live guys and two PGA pros. So again, did they give like some advice as to, okay, this would be funny if we, showed like what happens at live, where you know they are able to wear shorts and they have outdoor parties and they have live crowds. They don't have silent crowds at times, whereas a PGA Pro tour does. So, and then on the other side, um, you had Billy, and then you had some just random people, like let's say Becky Lynch as Flex, and she's a wrestler. There was also another wrestler in this movie, MJF, and he played Gordy, Happy's oldest son. Uh, so you had two wrestlers in here, and I've got a episode coming up where wrestlers turned actors that were not in a wrestling movie. Um, you'd be surprised how many actors or wrestlers have become actors. It's just a natural transition, And again, you've got all you've got all these cameos in this part where you have Vern Lundquist come back and you have Post Malone in the commentary booth. Um, like I said, Eminem was in this scene. It's just, it's a lot. Bad Bunny is great in this film. He plays Adam's Happy's caddy. Very sneaky kind of guy. He gets fired from his uh, waiter job by Travis Kelce in this film. Again, like I said, there's too many cameos. There's too many people in this film. Um, you know, uh, it's just bonkers. So eventually, um, the competition's going on. Um, Scotty, before the competition, wanted to know how hard it was to fight a hockey fight. So Adam showed, uh, Happy showed him how to pull the shirt up and then hit a guy. So Scotty and his opponents, they had a little match at the beginning, and Scotty gets arrested, and he's like, "Oh, not again," and he gets sent to the slammer. Again, funny but cringy, like funny but cringy. So, like I said, this movie, uh, I just, it was funny in parts, but it is very cringy, and I would definitely say that this is definitely a movie that should not have been made. Sorry to say that, but Happy Gilmore was such an iconic film, and I don't know. It's just it kills me to say it because Happy was such a good movie, and I would have beat it to death. I will say though, the funniest um, part about the film was a golfer by the name of Will Zalatoris, who, when he first came out, had the um, had the look of Happy's original caddy. So when he was coming up on the tour, the memes were out there. Oh, look, Happy's caddy has become a pro, and you know, it was so funny. So when Happy and Will are in the same building, he's like, "Oh my God, you're a golfer now?" Oh no, he asks him to go and caddy for him, and Will says, "No, I'm actually a golfer now. I'm actually going to be competing against you." So they have this little um, tit for tat kind of thing, and it is funny. That part I did find hysterical. because unfortunately Will is known for that. But Will is a really good golfer. So I would say this movie is watchable because it is Happy Gilmore. So I would say it's a watch. It would be an even for me. It's not as good as it could have been. There's so many things that you could have done with him, bringing him back as an older guy who, I mean, forget the alcohol. Just skip that altogether. If Virginia died because of the golf ball, he retires, he's done, he doesn't want to do it anymore. But he gets dragged out of it. And now, he has to work his way back into the golf world, which now has gotten so much more crazier. The guys are hitting it longer, they're hitting it, they're just better tuned athletes. It's simple. That would have been simpler. Instead of doing this whole tit for tat thing with, every place he had booze in. So, okay. Now, interesting enough, I went into the Naked Gun movie with no expectations at this point because I had just seen Happy Gilmore 2, and I was like, I don't know what to expect here. I loved the Naked Gun movies. The Zucker brothers did an amazing job with Police Squad, making it into a movie. You had um, Leslie Nielsen, who absolutely killed it as Frank Drebin back in the day. He was so funny. This movie got huge reviews and a very good audience score and a Rotten Tomatoes score. So I said, okay, let's go see it. And right away, I got a feeling of nostalgia. Um, I thought Liam Neeson did an amazing job as Frank Drebin. Pam Anderson did a really good job as well in this film. And the reboot portion, or the nostalgic portion of this, was that they took the original movie kind of story where you had the eccentric billionaire who wanted to kill the queen. In this one, you had the eccentric billionaire who was a tech guy who wanted to cause havoc on the world. So it was different. You're not retelling the original Naked Gun, but you're making it a modern twist. I thought everything about this film was actually written well enough, and Liam just knocked everything out of the park. So again, this was um, actually very good. So let's get into it. So, Frank is about to be fired from police squad because of uh, the bank job, as you saw in the trailer, where the bad guys were suing him for beating them up, and he kind of says, they're criminals. How can they sue me? Uh, and she's like, well, they're suing the department, so you're going to be on traffic duty. So he winds up on traffic duty, but he winds up before that, and then there's the old nostalgic. Uh, Everyone in the police academy or the police squad, their dads are on the wall, as you saw in the preview. And so you don't need to know who these people are. You don't need to throw back all the way to the original and bring in scenes or connect it. It's already connected. And that was it. It was done. You didn't have to worry about, the old days. It was just about the new. So he goes to his office, and that's when Pam Anderson is there. So she plays Beth Davenport, whose brother was killed, and Frank was looking in on the case because his car uh, was in a accident. So, the line from the trailer where he says, would anybody want to murder him? And asks a bunch of questions like, did he have an obnoxious laugh? And you're like, oh my God, this is so crazy, stupid, but it was pretty funny. So, they had pretty good chemistry together and whatnot. And the bad guy in this film, played by Danny Heston, Richard, is again the tech guy who um, Beth's brother worked for, and subsequently, um, he winds up killing her brother, and she, along with Frank, have to come and find out why. So, again, there's so many um, funny little scenes in this film. I don't want to go through all of it. Um, Paul Walter Hauser does an amazing job as Captain Ed. Um, his father was Frank's right hand man as well back in the day. So, um, but Paul Walter Hauser has been in plenty of films this year, and I really like his work. Um, Also, another wrestler, actually two wrestlers, were in this film as well. Cody Rhodes plays the bartender at Richard's Club. Now, I know Cody from wrestling, but his haircut they gave him in this film, he looked like Zac Efron. I swear to God, I was like, I know that's Cody because the way he talks, because he has a little bit of a lisp. But I'm like, why does he look like Zac Efron? Like it's just silly. Um, why did they give him such a drastic haircut like that? It was just funny. Um, so they do, Frank and uh, Cody do the old, you know, like in the original where Frank goes to the dock, he gives the guy 20. His memory isn't that good. He gives him another 20. He's like, oh yeah, no, I remember this. So now Cody doesn't remember. Now we're not using money this time. He bangs Cody's head on the thing, and he asks another question. He does it again, and this time Cody has this, uh, Liam Neeson face, and he does it one more time, and then he gets some of that information out of him. So again, there's so many good jokes in here, and they're not running jokes like with Happy Gilmore 2. They weren't consistently telling the same jokes, but that is typical Adam Sandler and so on. So this was a complete departure to this. So um, we start getting more and more into the story. You know, police squad's going to get shut down. There's the funny scene in the trailer, which still kills me. They closed um, the station down and they put up a Spirit Halloween sign. Isn't that like the typical thing? A building closes and then a Spirit Halloween jumps in it. Like, it's just funny. So eventually we come to the very end. And again, I'm going to skip over all the stuff in the middle. But Frank and Beth have their. Oh, wait, I want to do one thing before I get to the end. Frank and Beth have a weekend away in this cabin out in the woods. And there's a weird threesome with a snowman. Crazy as all hell. Um, where the snowman comes to life because they were doing some kind of witchcrafty experiment, and it brought the snowman to life. He winds up getting jealous and wants to murder them. I mean, just it's so funny. um, you have to see it. So uh, Frank and Beth wind up at a UFC fight because Richard is a huge UFC backer, and this was the big night where on New Year's Eve that they were going to drop the ball, and this was where Richard's plan to disrupt the world is going to take place. And there's so much going on inside the arena and everything else. And um, yeah, it's just crazy. And then there's the scene where Frank is trying to uh, disarm the device inside. He winds up, the balls drop down into the thing. Bruce Buffer gets in the ring, the octagon, and Frank is Winnie the Poohing. If you don't know what that means, look it up. I'm not going to explain it. And then he winds up hitting and knocking out Bruce Buffer. I mean, it's just crazy. Again, just nuts. Um, the device goes off, and everyone in the arena starts fighting. So it's basically an anarchy um, type of thing. So anyone within an earshot of this device was going to go, ballistic. So eventually, there's a chase scene with Frank and Richard. They get outside of um, the rays of this thing, and then they start talking. And then all of a sudden, Dave Bautista comes out of nowhere. He's not even listed. It's an uncredited role. But Dave starts to give the speech that Frank was giving at the beginning of the scene. But Frank had to step away and go to the bathroom. And he was like, "Oh, did I do okay?" And Frank's like, "Yeah, no, you sounded great. Whatever. I'll finish." And as soon as Dave's walking away, a group of crazed people from the arena grab him, and he's like, "I'm not even in the movie," and he starts getting beaten up. So again, it's so crazy. And so obviously it ends with uh, Richard being arrested, Frank and Beth, save police squad, and they fall in love, and the rest is history. And the one cameo from really the original three that um, that was pretty funny was Weird Al. Weird Al was so what Richard's plan was to make the world go crazy, and only certain people would be bunkered into it. So think Terminator 3, where AI was going to take over, and the survivalists were going to be in the mountains, hidden away from the machines, you know, so on. So, but Weird Al's already there, and he's going to be playing at the entertainment center there. So, um, it's crazy. So, the end of the film, they have the um, mid-credit scene, and Weird Al is going on stage, and there's nobody there because nobody got to the bunker. And so that's pretty much it. Overall, I did like this film. I was actually pleasantly surprised about this film. So I give it a thumbs up. Not all the way two thumbs because again, I felt like yes, it was better than Happy Gilmore 2. And yes, it was funny and nostalgic, but at the same time, thinking about it from a standpoint of did it need to be made? Probably not. I don't think so. I think for what it was, they didn't need to use the Naked Gun quote unquote name to it. You know what I mean? I mean, even the Zucker brothers had said that they weren't going to see it. They wanted to, give their blessing on it because they put the Naked Gun label on it, but they had no interest in seeing it. And it kind of was my thought at the beginning too, like, man, do I really want to see this? Because Naked Gun was so good and made 3 movies. Although probably could have stopped at 2. But we got a 3rd one out of it. So there is the look at Happy Gilmore 2 and Naked Gun. Happy Gilmore 2, dumb comedy, you'll like it. Or even the cameos. Again, there's so many cameos from so many different people, pop culture, wrestling, sports, music, all that. And then you have the Naked Gun, which I will give a thumbs up. Has a better plot, and is nostalgic to the point of it stays true to the original 3. Dumb comedy, physical humor, one-liners galore. But it doesn't fall into the trap of trying to be the Naked Gun. Again, this could have been any other film. Like, if this film wasn't named Naked Gun, I probably might have given this 2 thumbs up because it was that funny. But I can't do it. So again, in the comments down below, you may disagree with me. You may not even have liked the film. You may have liked Happy Gilmore 2. And that's fine. Again, comedy is obviously subjective. Movies are subjective. You can like a particular film, like, say, for instance, I've made this, perfectly clear. Event Horizon was a movie that was touted as the next kind of sci-fi alien movie. Well, there was no aliens in the film, and it was terrible in my opinion, but critics loved it. Critics love certain movies and they hate others, and it's, that's what we're here. This is why I'm here, is to tell you my opinion. You can also read other people's, you can read reviews. I don't like to read reviews before I watch a movie. I just don't. I've done it a few times, years ago when I was, a teenager or whatever. I just, after Event Horizon was the last time, I think, and Event Horizon came out a really long time ago. It was the last time I saw. Rotten Tomato scores don't really matter. Audience scores don't matter either, because again, Superman got a huge audience score before it was even seen. Who saw the movie? Was it all DC people? Was it the families of the people that worked on the on the movie? Or was it a select bunch of DC superfans and were told, hey, you need to give this props? Okay, we didn't even get an audience score before, it made the actual public appearance. But that is it. That is it for my reviews. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and I will see you all at the movies.
You like that, baby? Let him know where I came from, yeah!
See you next time. Bye.
Waiting for you. Goodbye. Goodbye. Bye. Goodbye.
Hasta la vista, baby.
That's all, folks.